Well, recently retired former Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng delivered a keynote address today at a conference of the Forum of Institutions Supporting Democracy. The one-day virtual conference explores the interplay between COVID-19 and corruption and the impact on human rights. This is what the recently retired Chief Justice had to say to the conference.
And begin by highlighting the theme that I was made to believe informs the discussions in this matter, in this conference, which reads, the need for collaboration in the promotion of good governance and ethical leadership in responding to the impact of COVID-19 and corruption on our constitutional democracy. This connotes that COVID-19 and corruption have had a particular impact on our constitutional democracy. The question is, has COVID-19 had a negative impact on good governance and ethical leadership? Has there been corruption actual or perceived? If so, what has the effect of all these been on our constitutional democracy? To address these questions more meaningfully and share potentially helpful reflections on the basis of which these institutions that have brought us here could possibly collaborate to enhance good governance and ethical leadership, thus strengthening our constitutional democracy, which is the very reason for their existence, it is necessary that I highlight aspects of the Constitution that are relevant to this topic. Referring to Chapter 9 institutions, Section 181 reads, among others, that these institutions are independent and subject only to the Constitution and the law, and they must be impartial and must exercise their powers and perform their functions without fear, favor, or prejudice. Any challenge or threat to our constitutional rights indubitably becomes a clarion call to Chapter 9 institutions to reflect on how best to help address it. To determine whether the vibrancy of our constitutional democracy could be under threat or would largely depend on whether the threat has the possibility to undermine the foundational values of our democratic state and our entrenched fundamental human rights. To refresh our memory, I quote parts of Sections 1 of the Constitution. The Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the following values: human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms, non-racialism and non-sexism, supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law, universal adult suffrage and national common voters' roll, regular elections, and multi-party system of democratic government to ensure accountability, responsiveness, and openness. And as we know, Section 7 of the Constitution provides that the Bill of Rights is the cornerstone of our constitutional democracy. It not only entrenches the fundamental rights of all our people, but also affirms the democratic values of human dignity, equality, and freedom. All these fundamental rights may permissibly be limited. In terms of Section 36 of the Constitution, that limitation must, however, be reasonable and justifiable in an open democracy, based on these three values sought to be affirmed by the Bill of Rights. And the state is constitutionally obliged to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill these fundamental rights. Did COVID-19 and the developments around it trigger the need for collaboration among Chapter 9 and allied institutions to address apparent lapses on good governance and ethical leadership in our constitutional democracy? Since COVID-19 is not exclusively South African, it's not an exclusively South African challenge, context may innocuously be sourced from what a member of the European Parliament reportedly said about COVID-19 and human rights related challenges in Europe that might well be of equal application in our land. The member of the European Parliament, flanked by some of his colleagues, said, open quotes, "We were elected by the people." That's what the treaty says. But we should not forget that we were elected here for the people. We should have the best interest of people in mind, because that is the reason why they elected us here in the European Parliament. All these leaders of the European Parliament like to praise themselves every time when they go to a press conference to say that this is the most democratic institution in the European Union. The question to them is it really so? Have you told these people in Parliament why you decided to strip them of their fundamental rights? Why you have done it? Let me pause here, ladies and gentlemen, to say it struck me that the member is not, English is not the home language of the member. Therefore, if the English doesn't sound right, just bear that in mind. I continue to quote.
All right.